Parsha. Vayetze Yaakov Beersheva ve'elu Chorono. He left the community of Beersheba and went to Choron. Why did he have to leave the community of his family? Because, as we had read in last week's Parsha, the reading, where he had taken the birthright, the brachos, which was the one who owned the birthright, had the right to those brachos, and Asa felt that he was victimized by Yaakov. He vowed to kill him. So therefore he had to flee. However, only Rivka knew this. Yitzchak was not aware of this. And Rivka had said to Yitzchak that she's disgusted with the daughters of Canaan in terms of the way Esav's wives were behaving, and therefore she doesn't want on any circumstance her son Yaakov should marry of the daughters of Canaan. Therefore she should go to Choron to take of the daughters of her brother Lavan. So Yaakov leaves Beersheba to go to Choron. But factually he's fleeing for his life, besides locating a wife, or wives, which he's not aware of at this moment. He thought it's a wife, but it turns out to be wives. Rachel and Leah, and the maidservants. He had 4 wives. And the Shiftei Kah, the 12 tribes, were born from 4 wives. When Yaakov was sent off, his mother said to him, "You'll go liyomim achodim," for a short stay. But factually, rather than being for a short stay, he was away for 36 years. And after he had left, by the time he returned, his mother already had passed away. He never saw his mother again, Rivka, and he was the favorite of his mother. But because he did not fulfill the mitzvah of kibbud av v'em, honoring his parents, although he was away for 36 years, he was only punished for 22 of those 36 years. Why? Because 14 of those 36 years he had spent in Shem ve'Ever, studying Torah, before he had gone to Choron. So for those years, he's not accounted for in terms of punishment. It was only 22 years. And therefore, measure for measure, Yosef, who was the apple of Yaakov's eye, disappeared for 22 years, believing that he was mauled and killed by a wild beast. And only after 22 years did he realize that he was the viceroy of Egypt. And this was the beginning of the exile, where Yaakov and his family went to Egypt. This is the Ger Yezarach Be'eretz Lohem. Your children will be strangers, not in a land which is not theirs. They will be enslaved, and so on and so forth. That was the beginning. The 210-year period began with Yaakov's descent to Egypt, to Mitzrayim with his family. So the 14 years that he spent in Yeshivas Ever, those years he's not accountable for. He's not held accountable. Now the question is why? Because he studied Torah. We read that when he finally came to Choron and he sees Rachel, who's a shepherdess, and he sees her, it says, Vayishek Yaakov l'Rachel, he kisses her, Vayisa kol es kol v'yef. He raises his voice and he cries. It doesn't say vayef, Vayisa kol v'yef. That means he wailed and he cried. This was with very painful outcry of pain. Why did he cry? So Rashi cites 2 interpretations from the Midrash. The first is he had seen in Ruach HaKodesh, through his divine vision, that ultimately she will not be buried with him. Leah was buried in Moras Machpelah with Yaakov, not Rachel. Dover Acher, another interpretation, He had come empty-handed. Omer Eliezer Eved Avi Abba Hayubiyodov Nizam Tzmidim Migdonos. Eliezer, the servant of my grandfather, he had come with nose rings, bracelets, and delicacies. Vani Ebiyodi Klum. But I have nothing. I'm coming empty-handed. Visherodaf Eliphaz ben Esav b'mitzvahs Oviv Achrav l'Horgo v'Yisigo. Because Eliphaz, the son of Esav, due to the dictate of his father, had pursued him to kill him. That was the order which Esav had given to his son Eliphaz. Ulefisha Gidel Eliphaz, or God Eliphaz b'chekel shel Yitzchok. But since Eliphaz was raised literally in the lap of Yitzchok, Moshech Yodo, he withdrew his hand, did not kill him. Why? Omalo ma ese l'tzivu shalabo. So Eliphaz says to Yaakov, but my father gave me a command, I must kill you. How do I reconcile that? Oma lo Yaakov told Mashibiodi, take what I have, oni choshev kemes, you learned from your grandfather that impoverished persons like you've killed him. So therefore, you're actually meeting your father's command, and therefore he did not kill him. So this is why Yaakov, although initially he came with tremendous wealth, with gifts and everything, he came empty-handed. So he cried that he's not able to give gifts to Rachel as the servant of his grandfather had given to Rivka the bracelets and the nose ring. Seems to be a little immature. Can't give gifts, a person can't afford to buy a collar watch for his collar. So what, you're going to cry over this? And what we're talking about, Yaakov, as we see earlier, when he had the dream on Har Moriah, it was a prophecy. He sees angels ascending and descending the ladders. The ladder, and this is actually, as Chazal tell us, these are the 4 exiles that Klal Yisrael is going to experience in the future. Bavel, Parasumodai, Yovon, Edom, the Roman exile, all this, how many rungs they ascend, that's an indication to how many years will be in that exile. And it says, Vashem Umid Olov, and God stood on top of that ladder. And the Ramban writes, this is an indication he became the Merkava. He became the location of the Shechina, even to a greater degree than Avram and Yitzchak, because he was greater, because he was the most special of the patriarchs. He's already a patriarch who the Shechina dwells with him. He's going to get upset that he didn't bring bracelets and a nose ring. What exactly? That not only does he cry, he wails. That's the depth of pain that he can't contain himself. What exactly is this all about? We had explained when Eliezer put the bracelets on the hands of Rivka Imenu and the nose ring, and the Torah goes to identify the nezem. The nose ring was, its weight was what? Was the same weight as the machzeh shekel. Same weight. The 2 bracelets was asorzov mishkolom. It was 10 weight in gold. What was this? What were the symbolism of the nose ring and the bracelets? One is to allude to the machzeh shekel, which the communal offerings were brought with. The Jews every year, if you're above the age of 20, the males had to contribute a half a machzeh bekel agogolas. That was the weight of the nose ring. And the 2 bracelets were exactly the same. The weight of 10 alludes to Aser Sadibros. But why? What relevance does this have to do to Rivka's hands and to her nose? Since she is the future matriarch of Klal Yisrael, placing those bracelets on our hands and putting that nose ring on her nose sets in motion the dynamic that there's going to be a Klal Yisrael. There are going to be communal offerings. There's going to be atonement when those communal offerings are brought. There's going to be Aseres HaDibros, which finalizes the relationship between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael in terms of giving of the Torah. If Yaakov would be able to have gifts to give, jewelry to put onto her hands or whatever it is, she's the future matriarch. And as Chazal tell us, she was the primary matriarch. Between Rachel and Leah, Rachel was the primary matriarch. And therefore, even the children of Leah acknowledged that Rachel was the primary matriarch. So that he'd be able to set certain dynamics into the future to establish Klal Yisrael at that special spiritual level, he didn't have the means to do that because Eliphaz had taken everything he had. So he wasn't crying because he was actually felt he couldn't acknowledge and to show how special she was as his beautiful bride. That's what we're talking about over here. We're talking about the ultimate level of spirituality, to what degree Klal Yisrael could be assured that advancement of being that special Goy Kodosh, Mamlech Kohanim. That's what he was pained about. He wasn't able to bring that about. If he would have had the wealth, Yaakov, what would have been? Eliezer comes with tremendous wealth, 10 laden camels with the wealth of his master. It says when Lavan had seen the herd that his nephew had come, he runs. Vayikishmoa Lavan es Shema Yaakov ben Achos vayorotz likroso. He runs towards him. So Rashi says, why did he get so excited? Kesova moment who toned. He thought he was actually came with a tremendous amount of wealth. Why? The slave of this household had come with 10 laden camels with wealth. So here the prince comes himself. He doesn't come with tremendous wealth. He ran immediately. Now, because Eliezer had come with such wealth, he negotiated the hand of Rivka in and out. Didn't have to stay there very long. He wasn't exposed to the evil of that community. Yaakov, if he would have come with wealth, Rachel is my soulmate, I'm willing to give this or whatever it is, Lavan couldn't hold him up. He wouldn't be entrenched there. For 20 years, he was in that community, exposed to the most vile, extreme level of impurity that exists in the world. But if he would have had the wealth, he would have been in and out. But now that he doesn't have that wealth, he's really in a bind, Yaakov. Now, but why did he give up that wealth? That we discussed this. Why did he give up that wealth? Now, Eliphaz pursues Yaakov to kill Yaakov. We have a principle, Habolo Horcha Hashkim V'Horgo. There's a concept, a principle of self-defense. A man, God forbid, tries to take your life. You're obligated to defend yourself, even to kill the other person, your attacker. Why didn't Yaakov kill Eliphaz? The answer is very simple. Maybe he couldn't have. Eliphaz was more powerful than he was, so what's the point? There's no mitzvah to be killed. So if you're able to buy your life by giving of your wealth, that's the way to do it. But how do we know that Yaakov could have killed Eliphaz? But he chose not to. It was his choice not to. The Torah tells us when he comes and to Choron, he meets shepherds and their flocks are around a well, and the well is covered with a very large boulder. And he says to the shepherds, why aren't you out grazing your flocks? The day is long yet. So they said, because we came to water our flocks, and because this is a very large boulder, we're not able to remove the boulder from the well, the mouth of the well. We have to wait till other shepherds come, and together we roll the boulder off the well, the mouth of the well. Yaakov, while he's talking to them, he sees Rachel, the shepherdess, coming with Lavan's flock. And the moment he sees it, he goes, he doesn't roll the boulder off, but he just plucks it off. Torah tells us he just plucks it off. Why is this very important for us to know? That Yaakov plucked the boulder off. He didn't even roll it off, he plucked it off. What is that to teach us? Mikan shekocho godol. To tell us how physically how powerful he was. Tremendous strength. Now, why is it important for us to know how strong Yaakov was? He's not entering into any contest here, right? That piece of information, why is that vital information for us to know? You know why it's so important for us to know? Because factually, if he was that strong, why he should have killed Eliphaz? He was in the position that he could have killed Eliphaz. So why didn't he kill Eliphaz? And if he would have killed Eliphaz, he wouldn't have been in violation of his mother's dictate to him, go for a short stay. He had the means, he could have gone for a short stay. He didn't have to go there. He would have negotiated and left immediately. Because he was in violation of his mother's request, he spent 22 years there. And because he spent 22 years, Yosef was denied him for 22 years, and during those 22 years, he was denied prophecy. Because since he was in a state of depression for 22 years, he did not prophesy for 22 years. So what did that, giving up that wealth, what did it cost him? He never saw his mother again, which he would have seen his mother, Rivki Menu, and he was the favorite, her favorite. The pleasure he would have given her. In addition, the pain that he suffered for being denied Yosef. In addition, even more serious than that, he didn't prophesy for 22 years. If Yaakov would have prophesied for an additional 22 years, what level would have he achieved? What would have his contribution been as a patriarch of Klal Yisrael, the most special, that he would have advanced this even to a greater level? That was all denied because he gave up the wealth, which he didn't have to because he could have killed Eliphaz. But he made a decision, I will give up the wealth and not kill Eliphaz. The question is why? And factually, he was away 36 years because he spent 14 years in Shem and Aver. Now, why did he spend 14 years Shem and Aver? What's the reason? So the answer is very simple, that if a man, he was 63 years old when he took the blessings, and how does the Torah depict and quantify Yaakov? Yaakov is Tam Yoshev Olam. He studied his whole life. From the time he was born, literally, until 63 years old, he was dedicated totally to learning Torah at the most advanced level. Before he goes to Chorin, he takes off another 14 years. What's going on? What does he need? He might as well learn forever. Why were these 14 years so valuable and so crucial, and literally a prerequisite to going to Chorin? So we had explained that Yaakov, until this moment, never ever believed that he'd have to leave Eretz Yisrael. He'd have to leave the spiritual cocoon that he was born into. He literally lived in the Holy of Holies, his parents' home, Beersheba, wherever his parents were. All of a sudden now he's being thrown into a community where the fare of the day is idolatry, murder, adultery, incest, and the worst of everything. Now, how do you contend with all these issues, which he never had to contend with these issues? He had to go study a Torah at Aver. Shem and Aver, they were the sons of Noach. They had witnessed what the generation of the great flood was. They understood what evil was. He had to learn a Torah, how to contend with all this evil, to counter it through that special Torah that he learned. But why did he have to learn that special Torah? Only because he was going to make a choice to give it up, that he'd have to be exposed to it. If he wouldn't have given up his wealth to Eliphaz, what would have been? He wouldn't have to learn that special Torah. Because again, he's there for a short moment, a short stay, negotiates the hand of his wife, and leaves immediately. So it was only due to his choice of giving it up. He had to spend those 14 years there. So factually, even the 14 years, which were a necessity, because he couldn't survive it otherwise, but it's your choice. So if that's the case, why wasn't he punished? If you take a look in Chazal, Rashi cites the Midrash. It doesn't say because he had to study Torah, therefore he wasn't punished. Rashi explains, in the merit of Torah, that's why he wasn't punished. It's not because he had to study Torah. In the merit of the Torah, he was not punished. That somehow protected him from that punishment. You know, a person has prosecution upon him. What quells that prosecution? The Torah itself. There's no question his mother would forgive him. But it's unforgivable. The merit of Torah somehow softens the verdict. 22 years, not 36 years. Those 14 years. Why? It's the schus HaTorah. It's not because the Torah was a necessity. The Torah wasn't a necessity. It was only a necessity because you made a choice. But who told you to make that choice? So just as you're culpable for the 22 years, Because based on your choice, you had no choice. So based on your choice, you didn't have to study the Torah. It was only due to your choice you had to study the Torah. But if you wouldn't have made that choice, you could have gone right back. You didn't need that special Torah to protect you. Therefore, in truth, he deserved to be punished for 36 years. But why not? Because the Schus HaTorah quelled that prosecution. Therefore, it's only 22 years, not 36 years. The Rechaim HaKodesh makes a point when he had the prophecy on Har Moriah, Mount Moriah. It says, V'hinei Hashem nitzav olav. The appellation of Yud Kei Vav Kei is Midas HaRachmim. V'yomer, Ani Hashem Elokei Avrom Avicho, V'Elokei Yitzchok Oretz Asher Teshochi Voleo L'cho Etneno Zarecho. I am the God of Avram, your father, the God of Yitzchok, the land that you lie upon, I'm giving to you and your progeny. Your family, your children will be like the dust of the earth, which will go in every direction in terms of proliferation. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your children. Now, I will be with you. I will watch over you. Wherever you go, I will bring you back to this earth. I will not abandon you. Until I've done all that I've spoken to you. You couldn't have a better guarantee than this. I will watch over you. I will bring you back. And I will not abandon you until I do everything that I promised you. Okay? Yaakov awakens from his prophecy, and he goes and he says, Vayidor Yaakov neder lemor, Im yeh Elokim imodi, if Elokim will be with me, Ushmorani, and he will watch over me, Baderech hazeh shanuch holich, in the path that I am taking, V'nosi lechen lecho beged lilbosh, okay? But he says, Imir Elokimi Modi. So Rechaim HaKodesh points out, initially, God says, Hashem Omid Olov. Hashem Nitzav Olov. Midas HaRachmim. When he made this commitment here, it was Midas Hadin. Hashem says, the evaluation that I will make to determine your predicament is based on the evaluation of Rachmim, attribute of mercy. When he made the commitment, he says, if Elokim will be with me and watch over me, he says, no, I want my evaluation to be based on the attribute of justice. Exactness. Nothing less than that. If Hashem is offering Rachmim, what do you want din? It's a different evaluation. And the Rechaim HaKodesh points out, O dirtze al derech zeh im taskim midas adin al hadover. Omro imi Elokim, kilo diber elof elo bidas harachmim. Initially, when Hashem communicated the prophecy, it was within the context of the attribute of mercy. Dichsiv, Hashem hine Hashem nitzav olov. Yudke vovke is standing over him. Hine anochi imoch. V'dova yodua. He says it's a known fact. These are the words of Rechaim HaKodesh. Ki midas harachmim taskim lehitiv. The attribute of justice will agree that goodness should come to the person. Umidas hadin ma'akev b'dover. The attribute of justice says no, would not allow it. Because unless it's perfect, it's not happening. Lezeomar imi elokim imodi. Therefore, Yaakov says imi elokim. So the guarantee of Hashem was only within the context of midas harachmim. Within the context of the attribute of justice, there's no guarantee, unless he meets the grade. Now, we find when he sent the Malochim, the agents, to tell him that he's coming, it says, Vayiramod, when he heard that Esau was coming against him, towards him with 400 men, he was frightened. What was he frightened about? God gave him the guarantee. So Rashi cites Chazal, Shem yigrom hachet. Shem nislachlachli bechet. Maybe I became soiled with sin. But God said, I'm taking you, I'm bringing you back. Guaranteed. I will not abandon you until I fulfilled all that I said to you. I spoke to you. What's he worried about? Chas v'sholom. Yaakov was concerned that maybe God's retracting his promise. Chas v'sholom. The answer is, when do you have to worry? Maybe he was soiled with sin. Not that he sinned. He was soiled with sin. If the evaluation is midas adin, you have to be concerned. Even if there's a trace, there's an issue. But if it's midas harachmim, there's nothing to worry about. So that's what he was worried. The guarantee you gave me was within the context of midas harachmim, the attribute of mercy. Within the context of midas adin, there's no guarantee I have what to worry about. He could kill me. Or I would kill him, and even that's a problem, as we're going to explain in a moment. Even that is, he doesn't want to be the person to kill. He should leave in peace and return. Now, why did Yaakov want an evaluation of midas adin if Hashem offered midas harachmim? Why? If the evaluation could be a lighter evaluation, not an exacting evaluation, David Mel says, Al tova b'mishpati modi. Don't bring me into judgment. Because nobody can be vindicated. If chas v'sholom is midas adin, you can't be perfect enough. So why did Yaakov want midas adin over here? The evaluation should be the attribute of justice, this exactness. Why? Now, Yaakov says, Ushamarani, I want you to watch over me. He says, if you watch over me. Now, so the Medrash says, what is watching over me? I should not be influenced, God forbid, to commit murder, idolatry, adultery, incest, or Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara. It's a little complicated. I mean, if you're talking about, you're concerned about the cardinal sins, the most serious transgressions, within the same statement you say Lashon Hara. Evidently, they have relevance. You know, when a person sins, it doesn't begin with murder. It doesn't begin with adultery. It doesn't begin with idolatry. That's not where it begins. The Yetzer Hara could skin a person 10,000 ways, and you don't even know that you're being skinned alive. And he has all the patience in the world, and it's a slippery slope. You know, when a person, the Chavetz Chaim writes, he makes a calculation, how many negative commandments are you in violation when you speak Lashon Hara over an extended period of time, how many positive commandments? Positive, 14 positive commandments you could be in violation over, not over a very lengthy period of time. Negative 17 negative commandments. Lo saseh. It's quite a hefty amount of lo sasehs, negative commandments and positive commandments. One of the positive commandments is v'ahavta l'orecha kamocha. You should love your fellow as you love yourself. Person goes and speaks negative about someone else. So you say to the person, if somebody would speak about you and say that about you, would you like it? He says, but it's not true. So what's the answer? The difference is it's either me or him. When I speak about him, it's him. When they speak about me, it's me. But if you really are concerned for your fellow as much as you're concerned for yourself, you wouldn't consider speaking negatively about the other person. So why are you speaking about him? The answer is because you don't value the other person as you value yourself. That's the difference. Now, a person speaks Lashon Hara. It could be, starts at one level. Person, he says, did you hear the man's a thief? Did you hear the man's incompetent? He's not that bright. He's not that handsome. He's not that capable. He wants to go into a partnership, giving examples. And the person who's going to partnership thinks he has the means to put up money, doesn't. And you tell the prospective partner that the investor doesn't have what you think he has. And you go and inform the person who he wants to go into partnership with. It's Lashon Hara. What's the constructive value of telling the man? Because it's very often you find people who have less, they keep their word and they find the money, investment capital, and those who have, when they promise you, they don't deliver. So just to the contrary. So how do you go and share that piece of information, which could be destructive, not constructive? The answer is, because that's him, not me. Because you really couldn't care less about the other man. You're not concerned about the other person. Now, so it's a certain devaluation of the other person. Now, God forbid a person commits adultery with somebody else's wife. You say, he's a husband. He's a human being. He has no value. God forbid. Otherwise, how does a person even consider taking another man's wife? The answer is, he's a husband. He's a responsible person, breadwinner. What is he? He's a nobody. So where does it start with? Does it start with adultery? Chas v'sholom. It starts with devaluing of another person. Ritzicha, killing, murder. Person has no problem with killing an insect. Killing a rodent. Killing an animal, if you have to. What about a human being? Human being? What's his worth? He has no value. The Gemara uses a terminology. There was a certain slave, his name was, he used to dance in the beer halls, in the taverns. He says he was not worth the bread of his stomach. That's how worthless. The man never worked a day in his life, the slave. Here you're feeding him, you're clothing him, you're housing him. He's not worth Nama de Krese. He's not worth the bread of his belly. This man, what's he worth? So when you kill, God forbid, in a fit of rage, you take the man's life, what does the person feel? What has humanity lost? Nothing. But did it start with there? It started with the evaluation of the person. Lashon hara. Yaakov Avinu understood the three cardinal sins. Protect me from gilei rai, shvichas dam, avodah zarah. Adultery, incest, murder, and idolatry. And Lashon hara. Because he understands Lashon hara, it begins with that, but ultimately, God forbid, chas v'sholem, it ends with the others. Idolatry. You don't value a person. That means you believe in your own narrative. You march to your own drum. What about God? Well, I think that this power, this deity has value because by doing that, I had some level of gain. The way I see it. Who do you think you are? I am I, and everybody else doesn't understand. I know better. So this ego inflation leads to the worst. Yaakov understood that. Therefore, he asked Hashem, I want to be protected from A, B, C, and D. I need special divine protection. Despite, he has Torah. Despite Yaakov is quantified and personified as Yaakov Ishtam Yoshev Holim. Despite the fact that it's Borasi Yitzah, Borasi Torah Tavlin. He has everything that it takes. On top of that he's worried. God says, I will protect you. And he says, Ushmarani, if you keep that promise, whatever, I'm committed to you. That's what he says. But what does he need all this for? Because he made a decision not to kill Eliphaz. That's why he needs all this. But why did he accept upon himself? Now that he's made the decision to go into the lion's den, to put his head in the jaws of the lion, and worse than that, why did he accept that? Hashem says, if the evaluation will be based on attribute of mercy, Midas HaRachman, why go to Midas HaDin? And as the Or Chaim Kodesh says, what Midas HaRachman will accept to do good, Midas HaDin will be makiv, will not allow it to take place. And that's why he was worried he could be killed by Esav. Because that was the evaluation he took upon himself. Now, what do people slip up? If a person sees that he has some wiggle room, and you have what to fall back on, you say, it's not so terrible. It's like person does things during the year. You say, Baruch Hashem, we have an Elul, we have a Seres Mei Tshuva, we have a Yom Kippur. I'll work it out before Yom Kippur. I'll do Tshuva. Finished. So a person, when he's in a state where he's conflicted and he wants to do what he wants to do, worst comes to worst, I'm able to work it out. So in our minds, we rationalize and justify certain decisions only because we know there's an escape clause. What about if you knew for a fact there's no escape clause? You're in a vise, you can't move an infinitesimal, an iota of a movement. You know something? You have nothing to rely upon. Nothing. You're going to behave perfectly. Yaakov understood the nature of a human being. If there's rachmim, you know what puts me in? There could be slippage. I'm not interested in any slack. I will take every precaution. As it says, Aseh Siyog LeTorah. You should make a fence, self-imposed fences. Yaakov's self-imposed fence was, Imi Elokim Imodi. Let Midas Adin be the evaluation. Midas Adin Imodi means it's like you have a gun to your temple, and if you make one move, the person pulls that trigger. Knowing that, you're not going to flinch. You're not going to make an iota of a move unless you're going on that straight path, straight and narrow path. Yaakov understood this. Therefore, Yaakov took upon himself the Midas Hadin of Elokim. So if it's Midas Hadin, you spent 14 years in Shem Ve'ever, you deserve to be punished. You deserve to be punished. It's not because he needed it. It was based on his decision he needed it. So you should be punished. The answer is Zchus HaTorah. It's not because he needed it, but rather because that time was utilized for Torah. The merit of Torah protects him from Midas Adin. Even against Midas Adin, it stands up. But outside of Torah, you're fully held culpable and liable. So therefore, he had a full liability for 22 years. And therefore, he was denied Yosef for 22 years, and he was denied prophecy for 22 years. We find that when Rivki Menu was pregnant, she had tremendous agitation in her womb. She didn't know what it was. She was in tremendous pain. She goes to Shem for reading. He was a prophet. He says, Shnei goyim bevitnech. You have two nations in your womb. Two kingdoms will emerge. And one interpretation Rashi cites, they're battling over two worlds, Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh. And they're trying to destroy one another. That's all this agitation, this turmoil that's going in within you. Yaakov, and there was an agreement between the two of them. Yaakov is Olam Haba, and Esav is Olam Hazeh. Yaakov is the world to come, Esav is the physical world. That's why the Jews, we count according to the lunar calendar. Esav is the solar calendar. That's the physicality of the world. The physical, material world, that's the solar. The lunar is not the physical world. The lunar. It's not. We find that after Yaakov comes back with tremendous wealth, and he sees the gift, Esav says, what's this all about? I thought we had an agreement. You have the world to come, and not the material. I have the world. Where do you get this? Is only a pittance of your wealth. This is the gift he sent him. He says, you broke the agreement. You violated the agreement here. How do you come to such wealth? So Yaakov says, you don't understand. My wealth is to facilitate the spirituality. We say, in kemach ein Torah. You can't, as a physical being, you can't live and within the context of spirituality unless you have the physical needs. So if the material's for the spiritual, that's spiritual. You're the material for the material. So Esav says, something, I never understood that. Maybe let's redivide. Yaakov says, no, we made the agreement, it's finalized. I have the world to come, you have this world. So, and that's where he was left. We find that Hashem says to Yaakov in the prophecy, Zaracha kafar ha'aretz. Your children be like the dust of the earth. Dust is something so demeaning. You're worthless. What Hashem said to him, you're like dust. You could be scattered off in every direction. You could say you could be like the stars. You could be the sand on the beaches, on the seashore. which has a very positive connotation, as the seashore holds the sea back, your children will be able to whatever. But dust has no value. You come from dust, you go back to dust, but yet your children will be like the dust of the earth. So the Midrash says that if you have dust and the wind comes, it scatters the dust in every direction. What about if you take water and you take the dust and you intermingle it with water? Then the dust is not spread in every direction due to the wind, because it becomes something of substance. The Gemara tells us, based on psukim, verses, that Torah nimshal kamayim. Torah is like water. If the Jew lives his life, he studies Torah, does mitzvahs, so that he's taking the dust. The human being is from earth. So he's taking and he's intermingling within his essence that special water. Then you become stationary, you become fixed, and you take on an existence of value. But if not, you're like dust. Now, so what about the non-Jew? What is the Jew's value? The Jew's value is his spirituality. Within the context of physicality, the Jew has no value whatsoever. The physical is purely to facilitate the spiritual. So what happens if the Jew doesn't utilize the physical to facilitate the spiritual? Then you're dysfunctional. That's dysfunction. Dysfunction, you're dust. Any little thing, you're blown in every direction. You have no stability, you have no permanence. You're not rooted. You're not rooted. You scatter in every direction. If you have the water, you have the Torah. That means the material is being used to facilitate the spiritual. That has substance. That has strength. That's power. Nothing could move you. You're permanent. You can repel every attack. But if you don't have the Torah, you're going to be trampled upon. Like you trample on dust, you're going to be trampled upon. You have no permanence whatsoever. Esav, he is the material. It's not dust. It has value unto itself. Because Esav is Olam Hazeh, is the material world, is the physical world. If that's what he says. It may be dust, but if you use dust responsibly and you address it as it's meant to be addressed, then when you spread in every direction, that means it's nachlo b'li mitzorim. It's an unlimited, no boundaries. You're boundless. You cannot be contained. Because just as Torah, spirituality is not finite. It's unending. You become unending. But if it's just offer, and it's physical, but it's valueless, then you're scattered all over, in every direction. You have no permanence, you have no value whatsoever. It's true, we say, in kemach ein Torah. There's no, you don't have material, you can't study. You're a physical being. You have to eat, you have to sleep. It's true, you don't have to indulge, but minimally, you have to have a minimal amount of nourishment and liquid, water to sustain your life. Pas melch tochal, mayim sur tishtel, or it's tishan. Chai tzartiche, it may be a life of deprivation, but you need something. But there's a concept known as samech v'chelko. You get a person who has nothing, he's more content than the richest man in the world. Rav Shach Zechet Tzaddik V'Roch used to say, there's no man in this world who has all the material, who's as content, as happy as I am. So he says, what does it mean? He says, when I have a difficult Rambam, and I agonize over it, I work on it for a week, for 2 weeks, then finally have a resolution, and I understand it, the joy that I have, and the pleasure that I have, all the money in the world, all the pleasure is not equal to that moment. Somebody looks at you out of your mind. This man must be from another planet. He doesn't even know what the world is all about. No, he knows what the world's about. But because he is who he is, He is the Samech B'Chelko in the ultimate, because he understands the value of the materials only for that. It has no other value. If it has any other value, you're dust. You're here today, you're gone tomorrow. There's no remnant of your existence. Tzadikim b'misasum kruyim chayim. The tzaddik, even if he passes away, he's alive. Because it's an upgrade. When he lived his physical life, he lived as a spiritual person. When he passes away, he's even more spiritualized. Rishoim b'chayim kruyim mesim. The Russia, even when he's alive, he's called not alive. Because his neshama is non-functional. He's living like an intellectual animal. So when he dies, definitely he's considered dead. When he's alive, he's dead. Because his spirituality is non-functional. That's the difference. Many years ago, I was engaged in a discussion with this person who was a world-renowned heretic. And he says to me, if the tzaddik is so special to God, why does the tzaddik have such difficulty in life? Materially, he's deprived, he has problems. So I said to this person, I said, no, you have an apartment in the city worth millions and millions of dollars. You have a place up in Westchester. You have a home in Central America. You have a home somewhere else. You traveled the world. You're lacking nothing materially. So you're asking me, why is the tzaddik, why is he so deprived and so denied? I said to him, well, let me ask you a question. Why don't you ask the tzaddik if he's happy? Your question is based on why the tzaddik is. Why don't you ask the tzaddik? I guarantee you, the tzaddik is happier than you are. And more content than you are. The answer is because you're a physical being and you live high on the hog, on the most material level, and all that means anything is to succeed materially. But God is not part of your equation. Therefore, you have a problem. You can't understand the tzaddik. If you deny that, what's life all about? But he understands that's not what life's all about. The value of materials is only to facilitate the spiritual. So if he's succeeding, spiritually speaking, he already achieved the ultimate level of success. And that's what Yaakov and Esav said. Yaakov says, Yesh li kol. As little as much as I have it all. Because whatever God gives me, I have it all. Because it's only there to facilitate the spiritual. Esav says, Yesh li rov. I have abundance. I have enormous. I'm almost there. If you're almost there, you'll never be there. Because it's impossible to be there, to have it all. You can't take in the whole world. They say about the Chofetz Chaim that, Chazal tell us, Ein odam meis v'chatzi tavos biyado. When a person passes away, even 50% of his aspirations are not fulfilled. Not even 50%. So, when a child is born, every baby, every infant, if you take a look at the child's little hand, it's like a fist, closed fist. Why? Because when the child comes into this world, the child believes he's taking the whole world. When a person, God forbid, dies, the palm is wide open. What are you leaving with? Nothing. The Chofetz Chaim was known, when he passed away with his fist closed. He took it all in. Whatever he was able to take from this world, he took from this world to take to the world to come. And that's what it's all about. And that's the end of Pirkei Avos, when this person met Rav Yosef Mikisma, and he says to him, Shalom Alecha Rebbe Mori, come to my community, we need a rabbi. He says, your community, do you have Talmidei Chachomim? Do you have from scribes? He says, no. He says, something, the material, all you can take from this world is only Torah and mitzvahs and Masim Tovim. All the other stuff, all the material, Hashem says, Li HaKesef Li Azov. That belongs to God. That's not yours to take with you. Therefore, unless it's a community which has Torah and Sofrim, I'm not going there for all the money in the world, whatever you offer me. Because again, so the man says, how can you turn down such an offer? What's life all about? So again, we're talking about a basic fundamental perspective. Is it the material, or is the material to facilitate the spiritual? If it's to facilitate the spiritual, then that's spiritual. If it's a material unto itself, then it's Hava Lavolim Hakol Hovel.